Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday from Arnie's. Happy birthday to you. Woo!
Welcome to Arnie's birthday Zoom. Jacob Thieneman is always Jacob. That was his name, but it's Jake is better known by people that know him well. It is not Jake's birthday officially, I guess. It's February 28th, but he is a February 29th born in 1996. So I don't know, does that make you just 6 years old? How does that work? I mean, how do you reconcile your birthday and how do you celebrate it because you're a February 29th birthday?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first, appreciate you having me on. It's a little bit different birthday wise. So
yeah.
Technically turning 6 3/4 because I only get a birthday once every 4 years. But typically, just take the 28th or the 1st, whichever one's easier, more convenient. We'll just celebrate on one of those days.
Yeah. How about that birthday, the birthday tradition? Obviously, the Thieneman family, pretty entrenched in sports. And I don't know whether you were a basketball player growing up or all, but what was your birthdays typically like? How did your family celebrate your birthday with you?
So we had a bigger family because there was I'm the oldest of 4 kids.
Yeah.
So my parents always went all out for our birthdays, make sure we had a great celebration. So I was always, we were always getting groups of friends together and going to the pool or going to play basketball or doing some fun activities. So we had some pretty epic birthdays growing up. They're pretty fun.
That's good. That's a good thing. You got to celebrate them and enjoy them. You had an interesting career at Purdue, obviously getting a chance to start after being a walk-on. Talk about that decision, obviously an engineering background and choosing to come to Purdue, but having that mentality that, hey, I want to get to the field and make an impact, which you absolutely did as a Boilermaker. But how did that evolve for you? I know you've told that story probably more than you care to admit, but just how did you get to Purdue, and how did you finally see the field and realize, hey, I belong on this on the playing field and being a Big Ten defensive back?
Yeah. So the initial decision, it goes back to high school. I was deciding where I wanted to go play, and I had the walk-on spot at Purdue, and I had some opportunities at some other D2, D3 schools. And just from playing in high school, doing 7-on-7, being competitive, I knew I could play at the Big Ten level. I knew guys going to other Big Ten schools. I knew some of the guys going to Purdue. I felt like I could play at that level. And so for me, it was taking the risk to go be a small fish in a big pond and prove it to myself that I can do it. I knew it was going to be an uphill battle the whole way. It was what I signed up for. And that's exactly what it was. But just put my head down and worked. And, 3 years later, started to break onto the field a little bit and just kept working my way up from there, one step at a time. And then, like you said, ended up getting onto the field, having a pretty good time.
Yeah, and a very productive time, certainly in 2017 and 2018. You got on the field in 2016 as well. What was that like for you in terms of, we talk about things that go on to your professional life that you learned. You went through a coaching change. You had to prove yourself to one staff and then maybe start over again when Jeff Brom came in 2017. Talk about that experience and maybe what that takeaway was and what that takeaway is now for in your professional life and what you learned from that experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So 2016 was my 3rd year there. It was my retro sophomore year. And I was just starting to break onto the field.
Yeah.
And throughout the year, I started playing more and more. So the first game of the year, I only got 4 snaps, I think, on kickoff return. And then 3rd game, they added me to more special teams. Then by the 5th game, I started playing defense. And then by the last game of the year against IU, I started that game. So it was my first career start, had my first interception against IU. So it was I'm from in-state. So it was a huge rivalry. It was pretty awesome. And then the entire staff gets wiped.
Yeah.
Whole new staff. So I got a clean slate. So I'd spent 3 years with the other staff, working my way up, establishing myself, letting them know what I could do. And then all of that progress just went basically out the window. And it was a fresh slate with a new staff. Now with the new staff, we were not very good before, right? So they weren't coming in and saying, these are our guys. I was still a walk-on at the time. So they were looking to basically replace us. bringing other guys to play over us. So it was the same thing. I had to start all over, work my way back up with an entirely new staff, and make my way back onto the field. So it just taught me that, like, for the takeaways, you have to focus on what you can control. If I would have gotten down and down in the dumps about things out of my control, like what the coaching staff changed, what they thought of me, what the position I was in, I was finished. I was done. The only thing I could do was focus on myself and just lock in, work as hard as I could to get to where I want to be and get on the field. And so that's something that I take with me now. It's something that the lessons I learned at Purdue while I was playing, while I was coming up as a walk-on, are things that I'll take for the rest of my life.
Yeah, no question. You had a fiery D coordinator in Nick Holt, and a guy that in 17, that defense really, you talk about the Jeff Brom offense, but it was the defense that really turned that season into a bowl, team that was able to qualify for a bowl and win the bowl game. Talk about that camaraderie and when you guys finally realized, you've got something special and you can get the job done to really help deliver that team to a high level.
Yeah, man, that 2017 defense, that was a unit. We had some fun times. What it came down to was every year is like a clean slate again, right?
Yeah.
So coming into that year, 2017, we opened against Louisville at Lucas Oil.
Yeah. With
Lamar Jackson coming off his Heisman Trophy win. So an interesting environment, plus Brahms from Louisville. So there was it was like a media frenzy. It was exciting. It was a lot of fun. We didn't win that game, but we played extremely well. We played better than we had in years past. So that showed us as a team that we got something here. We can do something here. Then the next week, we blew out Ohio at home for like one of the first night games in the stadium in a couple of years. That again showed us, all right, we can do something here. Week 3, we went to Mizzou and blew them out of the water. That was one of the most exciting games I've ever played in my life. So at that point, we were like, okay, like this is different. Like we got a new staff, we got a squad that we love. We got something here. So it was just everyone locked in and wanted to go do something big. We were really just so tired of losing the last few years. It had been so brutal. We were happy to just be winning games now. It was like, let's do everything we can to keep this momentum going.
Yeah, you can tell your grandkids that you just held Drew Lock to 3 points, 35-3, and that win. That was the game at Missouri in 2017. Talk about where were you? Well, you were on the field in 2018 in the great Tyler Trent game and the upset of Ohio State. Take us through that memory of that. I can't remember. I know you had some injury issues in that are calling 18, but I think you work your way through that. But talk about that experience and what that was like to have that moment, that 49-20 win over Ohio State, one of the great moments in Purdue football history.
Yeah, you nailed that. You nailed it right on the head. It's one of the greatest moments in Purdue football history. It's one of the greatest memories I have myself. I want to back it up a little bit to start at the beginning of the season because it kind of builds into the story a little more.
Yeah.
So that was my 5th year. I was team captain. So came from walk-on to team captain. That was an accomplishment I was extremely excited about. I could remember from when I first got there, sitting in the very back, seeing the captains like my first week there, thinking like how cool that would be and like basically seeing like that was what I wanted to do. We started off 0-3.
Yeah.
So not the best start for my first year as a captain, really. Then we got our stuff together, got refocused, and won 3 straight after that. So we're 3-3, but we're coming off 3 straight wins. And now we have number 2 ranked Ohio State coming into Ross-Ade for 7:30 p.m. primetime ESPN game. So the media frenzy was there. All the excitement was there. They were undefeated, going for national championship, going for the Heisman, all of that. Tyler Trent was going through his struggles, and so we were all rallying around him as a team, and he was just inspiring us with how hard he was battling with what he was going through and the perspective he was keeping. That was giving all of us life and all of us energies. So it was like a perfect storm of all of those things. And then we were looking at film, and we saw things that maybe some other teams didn't, or that ways that Ohio State was vulnerable. And we just started believing that we could do it. Like it's hard to explain, but like the energy in practice that week was different. It was just a different feeling. Everyone brought it differently. We all knew the challenge ahead of us, but we also all thought we could win. And so we went into that game. It was freezing cold. We knew it was going to be hard fought.
Yeah.
There was some, we got into a little like skirmish, a little fight before the game with some of the Ohio State players. And then just right out of the gate, first play of the game or second play of the game, we kicked off. We're on defense. First play of the game, they jump off sides and it's 5 yards. And I remember like all of us on defense out there, we just felt it. We were like, oh, these guys are unprepared. They're ready. They're counting us out. And then it was just an onslaught from there. It was just, we beat them down for 3 quarters and then they folded. We took the life out of them. That was one of the most exciting things. People that like guys that play football will know this feeling. Like you'll play a team and you'll have a hard fought game, or you'll play a team and you'll blow them out and they'll quit. You'll witness them quit on the field. Having Ohio State quit on the field was pretty cool. Yeah,
you could, and I always say, because I never played the game past 7th grade, but it's palpable. You can kind of sense, right, that they're taking a step back, that you got them. Is that what you had that sense in that game?
100%.
Yeah. All right. Always as an Indiana kid, beating Indiana in 2017 and 18 to qualify. You had to win both those games to qualify for the postseason, if my memory is correct. Talk about that. I mean, yes, in 16 when you got on the field and started that game, you lost. 17 and 18, you won those games. Talk about that and that experience and it delivering you to postseason with the win over the Hoosiers.
Yeah, the IU games are always fun, man. I'm from Indiana, grew up a Purdue fan, so was always very involved in the rivalry. Always talking a lot of trash growing up. Have a ton of friends at both schools. Family cheers for both schools, so it's always been pretty exciting. That 2017 game, we were both, us and IU had 5 wins, so it was like the winner of that game went to the bowl game. So a lot on the line. It's at Ross-Ade. But I mean, we felt pretty comfortable what we can do. We were coming off a big win against Iowa the week before. And went out, got business done as a team. Went to the first bowl game in a few years, which was pretty exciting. Like everyone stormed the field. We were out there signing autographs, taking pictures all the time. So that game was pretty fun. Yeah, the game was pretty fun. And then the following year was different. So I missed the last 3 games of the 2018 season with the staph infection I was hospitalized for.
Right.
So my brother Brennan stepped up in my place and he was starting for me. And we needed that IU win so we could go to the bowl game and I could play again. Because if we went to the bowl game, I'd be able to play like one more college game. So I was like, Brennan, man, you gotta handle business. You gotta get the job done. He handled business, man. He played really well. They got the win. So that was pretty cool.
I knew, and I should have done my homework because I knew you had. I forgot about the staph infection. I knew that you'd had a hiatus in there. Now Brennan's your roommate, right? And in Denver. Tell me a little bit about what you're doing, and obviously with an engineering degree and a great Purdue education, as we say. But tell us what you're doing in Denver, and then I'm going to ask you about Dylan as well, because Dylan's going to be joining the Purdue football team as a scholarship player and part of Ryan Walter's first recruiting class. But start with to tell us a little bit about what you're doing and how you're keeping Brennan in line right now.
Gotta make sure you stay under control, man.
Yeah, I'm sure that's a problem.
But I'm living out here in Denver, Colorado with Brennan. We got a house out here. Lived here for about 8 months now, I think.
Excuse me.
It's been an interesting couple of years since I was done playing football. You mentioned the mechanical engineering degree. So I decided at the end of my schooling, I probably wasn't going to go into the engineering field. So in between stints with NFL teams, I started a job in Chicago with a consulting firm doing management consulting. I worked there for all of 2 months and then got signed by the Niners. And so then after the Niners, I was looking at how did I want to maximize the NFL experience? And so I was looking at ways I could grow myself on social media and start to get brand deals and do all that. And then I was like, well, if I need this help, there's other guys in the locker room that need this help. And then if they're going to change the rules in college about how college players get paid, college players probably need this help. So I started a marketing agency while I was still in the NFL to be social media focused and help players grow and get monetized. And then when my NFL career ended, I shifted my focus mainly to that. So I ran that marketing agency for 2.5 years roughly. And we started working with players, but ended up doing all sorts of things in the marketing world, anywhere from running online ads, building sales funnels, doing social media content, touched a lot of different niches. learned a lot over those couple of years. Where I'm at now is I'm doing sales for a TikTok marketing agency that works with e-commerce brands. So direct to consumer e-commerce brands, largely like jewelry, fashion, fitness, a bunch of other categories. We help them grow and drive sales on TikTok. So that's my primary focus right now. Outside of that, I'm building systems and automations for online businesses using the marketing background that I had.
But that engineering mind helps, does it not? I mean,
Oh,
you're a system person and you're a process person, I'm going to guess. Tell us about that, just in terms of, obviously intelligence always helps too. And if you're good enough to graduate from Purdue in mechanical engineering and play college football, you're high up the food chains. But talk about that, just where that makes you a good marketer.
Yeah, so engineering is really just about solving problems. It's about like defining your system, using equations, laws, rules, whatever to solve the problem. So using that problem solving framework, I just apply it to like whatever field I'm in, whether that's football, whether it's sales, whether that's marketing. There's a problem to be solved, and there's different things that we can do to solve it. So it's really just about like learning the specifics. Like once you learn a sales script, objection handling, like the basics, then you can run with it from there. Once you learn PPC marketing content, like the basics, then it's just about learning some of the nuances. So it's really just like applying the problem solving framework from engineering to like whatever I'm working on now.
Okay, so I'll ask you this question offline. So you still consult a market? We can always use some help, I'm sure. So in terms of that, it's fascinating and good for you in terms of that. And Brennan's role is with you, or is he doing his own thing out there?
He's doing his own thing. So he's an assistant project manager for a large commercial contractor. They build like large apartment buildings and community living centers. So he's going that route. He's going to go more of a real estate development route.
Okay, good for him. And the Thieneman family is going to be represented with a Purdue uniform for the next 4 or 5 years when Dylan shows up. I know you said offline that you hadn't had a chance to meet the coaching staff, but talk about what you hope for Dylan, but also maybe what you know about this new group. And Dylan's got a clean slate to walk into an opportunity with Ryan Walters and company, and a defensive-oriented coach has to make it interesting from that standpoint.
Defensive-oriented coach that played safety, so that's something we're really happy about for Dylan. Dylan's actually on campus right now. He enrolled early. He got there in January. So I've been hearing from him, just how things have been going, what the new staff is like. He's absolutely loving it, loves the new staff, says everything's going great. I love the staff's background. I haven't had the chance to meet him personally. I do know the outside linebackers coach, Joe Deneen. Yeah. I did my draft training in Florida with him. So I've met him before. He's a cool dude. Love that guy. I'm looking forward to meeting the rest of the staff, but looking at like their background, their performance, their track record, I'm excited, man. I like that we've got a defensive minded in there. Being a defensive guy, Dylan's a defensive guy. It's a little bit different from Brum's offensive style. Yeah. Man, I'm just excited. I'm ready to go.
They got a bunch of Jake Thienemans running around too. They're all young. They seem smart. And Ryan, we've been around him, very, very focused and great personality. And as I said, telling somebody this morning, it isn't my world anymore. It's your world. And the fact that you have a 37-year-old head coach and a median age on the staff of maybe 35, I don't know, it's maybe a little bit older than that. It's a new world. And I think that may give Purdue some real opportunity. How do you see that from that standpoint in terms of relating to kids, NIL, transfer portal, all these factors? You have to think that it gives Ryan Walters and his staff a chance to really connect.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think the player connection is going to be pretty big there. Most of those guys are former players themselves, so they just get it. Like working with a player coach, they just get it. They understand the position you're in. They know what you're going through. They can empathize. They can coach in the right way. So yeah, I like the staff's younger. I think that points just towards positive things, being on the latest trends, being in the know with NIL, having the latest and greatest schemes offensively and defensively. So yeah, I think it's pretty exciting.
All right, one last question, because you obviously in your TikTok world and your internet marketing, NIL, it came a little late for you, but to talk about what you see and how you see this playing out for Dylan and others for down the road? Now, Purdue's got the Boilermaker Alliance, and they're taking a little bit of it, a lot of it with the charity component. But how do you see this 5 to 10 years from now? Where will college athletics be, not only with NIL but also transfer portal? Are you bullish on the future of college athletics, or do you think there are a lot of challenges to be able to work your way through? How do you see that?
Very bullish on the future of college athletics and NIL. Now we're experiencing a lot of growing pains as that's being rolled out, right? So we're in like year 2?
Yeah, in essence
of NIL. It's still kind of a mess, to be honest. the way it's working out. What NIL needs is legitimacy. They need rules. They need more rules and regulations. So that
guardrails, right? Yeah.
they need guardrails. So the schools are clear what they can and can't do. The players are clear on what's allowed, and then that will allow brands and the real money to start flowing in. Right now, blue chip brands like large companies that typically work with like athletes, influencers, online creators are staying away from NIL and college football because of the illegitimacy of it.
Yeah,
they don't want to open that can of worms. They don't want to deal with it. Also, working with college players is just something new, so they're pretty hesitant to jump in. A lot of it's been, the under the table deals to get guys to transfer to come in and play that you've been hearing about. That's been happening a lot, but that's going to need to get more legitimate, whatever rules they come up with around it. That way, just everyone's playing the same game. And then, like I said, more brands can get involved. Then it'll start to really be good for the players, I think. I've been talking to Dylan about a few things that Boilermaker Alliance has been doing. It's been pretty cool here. And they're doing a lot of charity events, using the players to draw people in. Dylan mentioned he went to a blood drive, and the lady working there said just because the players showed up, they had like 4 times the amount of people that they usually get. So I was like, that's perfect. That's what it's supposed to be for, and that's where it's really working well. So, love the things that Boilermaker Alliance is doing there. But it'll be interesting to see how it develops over the next coming years.
I think if you want, you're going to have, just where you sit in the marketplace and your background, you may have a lot of opportunity to work with folks, because if you choose to do more of that down the road, because a steady hand and somebody that can see down the road will come in very handy. So good for you. And the Thieneman family is becoming it already is a Purdue. When Purdue fans think of the Thieneman family, it's all good, and the sacrifices that you guys have made to play on to get the chance. And now Dylan's not taking the easy way out, but he at least started with a scholarship, so that part makes it but it was going to be fun to watch his career as well. Happy birthday! We'll celebrate it maybe at midnight tonight. I don't know how that. Like I said, that February 29, 1996 was a good day for your parents, and a good day for you, and I hope you enjoy it. Thanks so much for taking the time to join us today. I learned some stuff, that's a benefit for me. So from you, and I will look forward to connecting down the road.
Awesome. Well, Alan, I appreciate you having me on, man. It was fun.
All right. Enjoy. Have a great rest of the day, and however you choose to celebrate it. Hope it's a great one. And we'll look forward to the 20. I'm sure, I would guess you're going to get a chance to come back in 2023 for the football, for a home game or two, and hope to see you there in Ross-Ade Stadium.
Definitely. We'll be there.